You know, it's funny because you prepare yourself, you kind of fantasize, what if I get drafted? What if I don't? But when I actually got the call, it was this amazing feeling. I can't really describe it. At first I thought it was a prank. It was a gal, she said, congratulations, I just want to let you know that the New York Giants have selected you. And then it kind of dawned on me that this is legit. And it was just this overwhelming, feeling of emotion. And I had 30 people just erupt. My mom started crying. And, the last player picked obviously doesn't carry the same weight as the first, but it doesn't minimize the excitement. My goal from the time I was, I can't even remember, was to get drafted. I just wanted to get drafted, say that I got drafted. And unfortunately, I think I picked the wrong goal because I should have said, hey, I'd like to be in the Hall of Fame or something, and maybe things would have worked out differently. But, I realized that dream.
I'd always heard about it. I've been a football fan for a long time, and so you always hear about the last guy being picked, and it's amazing how many people know about it. Even like in the locker room when they find out I'm Mr. Irrelevant, everyone always is like, "Oh, didn't you go to Disney World? Don't they have a parade?" Irrelevant Week was one of the most fun and craziest weeks of my life, and embarrassing. I think the whole idea is to kind of roast you a little bit, but also celebrate you. You go to Disneyland. And of course, you're fairly close to Hollywood and all that stuff. So you have 15 or 20 people that are kind of around you, and NFL Network films the whole week. And so there's a lot of cameras following you around everywhere you're walking. And so naturally, people are always like, "Hey, who's this?" They think it's a celebrity. It's just kind of funny when you got to say, "Nope, sorry guys, it's just me. Don't get too excited."
I get a phone call maybe 2 or 3 days after the draft, I think it was, and it was some guy out in Newport Beach, California, wanting to know if I wanted to be Mr. Irrelevant. And I'm like, well, who's Mr. Irrelevant? So, well, we honored the last guy drafted because he's really irrelevant because no one really cares, but he can't make it. So, we thought, what's the next best thing? You. We're going down the line. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea, but it was a free trip home.
I got the call for Mr. Irrelevant shortly after being picked, and I wasn't convinced that it was real. I thought somebody was pulling my leg, but the more we spoke, I realized that Mr. Irrelevant was very real.
Very tough.
The event that kind of kicked off the Irrelevant Week was you go up and you're at a podium, they ask you a couple questions, and then they begin to present you with all these gifts. And I'm telling you, it was like Christmas times 10. Literally, there's presents coming out of just flooding you with all these different gifts. It was just an amazing experience. The entire Mr. Irrelevant Week was unlike anything I've experienced before or since.
How realistic do you think it would be for you to make the team? Do you think you can compete?
I think it's a matter of believing in yourself.
When I got to Giants camp, you had Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler, and Matt Cavanaugh. So I realized very quickly that this was going to be a tall order. The first day we ran routes. I threw the ball extremely well, and I remember after practice calling home and saying, hey, I can throw with these guys. The next day, Phil Simms was probably 60 for 60. 100% completion percentage with every throw you could possibly imagine. And I remember standing on the sideline going, oh my God. On my best day, I could not have done what he just did. There was a beauty in it. I also remember seeing Lawrence Taylor for the first time. He gave me a, what's up? We're just in a hallway in the dorm, and I turned, and there he is, among the greatest players to ever play the game, and I'm 2 feet away from this guy. We had occasions where we'd run sprints, gassers, and I'm running next to linemen, and I'm running hard, and these guys are right next to me. And I'm going, sweet mother of mercy, these guys are faster than me, and they weigh 320. But again, I was always eternally confident, probably more so than I even should have been. So I figured, hey, I'll still make this team. When you find out that you're released, you don't get a call. You get a knock at your door at like 4:30 in the morning. Larry, grab your playbook. Coach would like to see it. That means you're cut. And you go down, and the head coach was Ray Handley, and he said, don't give it up, and this and that. Literally, as soon as you walk out of the door, you got a guy who's got your stuff ready to go, and you're going to the airport. I mean, they don't waste any time. When you're cut, you're cut. Thanks for swinging by. And you fly home.
Work your whole life to be in that situation, and when draft day rolled around and I knew there were a couple teams that I thought maybe were going to draft me in the later rounds of the drafts. That's usually where kickers get drafted, if they do get drafted, and got to the last pick, and I knew that Kansas City was a team that was interested. We knew there was a chance, and then
the Kansas City Chiefs select Ryan Succop, kicker, South Carolina, and he becomes the 34th Mr. Irrelevant.
That is outstanding. You gotta draft the kicker and Mr. Irrelevant.
Just because you're drafted doesn't mean that you've made the team. And so the way I looked at it all along was that, hey, this is an opportunity, and now I need to take advantage of this opportunity. And really got prepared for training camp, worked as hard as I could, and fortunately was able to come in and make the team right away. Receiving the title Mr. Irrelevant, I think sometimes people could look at that and maybe take that as a negative because irrelevant doesn't sound real good. That's not what you want to be called. But for me, I looked at it as an opportunity to pursue my lifelong dream, which was to play football in the NFL. And so I never took it as a negative, not even for a second. It's kind of cool too because when you first get here, a lot of people kind of pull for you because you are the underdog. People think, oh, Mr. Irrelevant, and then when you actually get out there and can play, people kind of naturally get behind you. We love the underdog in America, and that's kind of what Mr. Irrelevant is.
Going from Mr. Irrelevant to being a Pro Bowl quarterback to being your team's most valuable player to being the fourth quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 yards. Yeah, I mean, you say Mr. Irrelevant, well, wow, I'd take them all. That's the whole thing about it. I may have been irrelevant. Now there are only 7 rounds. When I was drafted, there were 12 rounds. And I was 333rd player picked in the National Football League. I got into the fourth quarter, and I completed 1 or 2 passes, and then threw a bad pass, got picked off. I get knocked down. I'm sitting on my duff, watching, and it shows the camera panning me, just like this, as I'm watching this guy run right by me, as I can't do anything, and he's running back for a touchdown. And Howard Cosell goes, "Look at that young man, a face with despair, knowing he has no chance to ever play in the National Football League." Getting drafted by Miami, being Mr. Irrelevant, and then being traded to the Redskins and thinking I made the club. And then to be cut, when that happened, I went back and I started throwing every day. And then after 2 months go by, and weather starts getting cold, I realized, I guess, okay, my dream's over. And I'll go do something else. And then the Chiefs came a-calling, and they gave me an offer. My first year in the league, I didn't take a snap. My coach said, listen, when your one chance comes, you be ready, because we don't know when that'll be. And my one chance started off dubious, 1 of 6 and a pick, and ended up hitting my next 12 in a row and was player of the game. So I took advantage of that opportunity. I just tried to work hard and do my job every day. I think any athlete will tell you when their football career is over, it's very difficult because you have so many other things involved in it, not just a paycheck, but the emotions that run with it. Now you're being told that you're not good enough anymore. Personally, it was very difficult to take that rejection. Football was passion life as a kid. You just grow up doing it. That's all I did. Now I'm 35 years old and I can't play anymore because I have nerve damage in my neck. And so I can't throw a ball. I'm damaged goods. You know, as my kids got older, I don't know what hit me. I just decided I think I want to run for political office, and I beat the incumbent. And so I got elected, and when I got there, I realized, wow, this is a whole new ball game. Eventually, I was the first Republican floor leader to be elected in 53 years. And it was like, you know, being a quarterback again. I ran a very tight ship. I was very organized, but it was everything I learned from football. I didn't have the most talent. I knew it. So what'd I do? My dad said, you gotta work harder. Put in more effort, you know? Just don't be the last guy to show up, be the first guy. So yeah, did I have a little chip on my shoulder? You could say that, or else I just had a drive to prove to myself that I could do it.
This is the official Lozman Trophy, awarded to myself in 1991 as Mr. Irrelevant. As you can see, it's a little unlike the Heisman because this gentleman is dropping the ball, I think indicative of the whole irrelevant concept. After I was released by the Giants, it was like, gosh, you know, now it's time. It's time to grow up. You gotta be a big boy now. My first job out of college was selling insurance. I actually worked at a private investigation firm for a little while. I was on stakeouts and stuff. It was, it was ridiculous. And then I said, I've gotta figure something out here. So every single thing I read said real estate, real estate, real estate. I had a little money for my signing bonus, a little money, and I bought my first 2-family. I started to work very diligently on building this little mini empire in my area. And it was kind of, I think, a push to say, hey, I'm not Mr. Irrelevant. I'm gonna be relevant. And I really got it to a place where it was booming. And then we ran into 2008. And you know, the world changed. Cuyahoga County, where I live, led the nation in foreclosures at one point. So now it's a rebuilding process. It's not unlike being the underdog of Mr. Irrelevant. I'm not afraid of this. It was a devastating thing to go through, but it's just another challenge. 1, 2, 3. My passion right now is coaching my daughter's 7th grade basketball team. I probably take it a little overboard. We'll break down film. I film every single game.
He'll stay up till like 3 a.m. watching basketball videos and making up new plays just so we can beat the team that we lost to.
We're in 7th grade, but we're playing 8th grade teams. The parents love it in kind of a he's a psycho kind of way. But one of the great things about coaching is not only can I help them with the X's and O's and trying to get better in basketball, but you just get to interject little life lessons here and there, things that you learned along the way. And I love that. I think what you learn as an athlete is you must wake up every morning and compete. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. You also learn how to face adversity, how to deal with success, how to deal with failure. When you're a young man, your whole world revolves around, I want to be the best football player I can, I want to get drafted, I want to be a pro athlete. As you get older, you realize that sports, athletics, and being a part of the game pales in comparison to just life and the responsibilities of being a husband, being a father. Those are the most relevant experiences that you can ever have.
You know, I'd never heard of Mr. Irrelevant before I got a phone call saying, hey, you're Mr. Irrelevant in 1978. When I think of irrelevant, I think of something that is not needed. It's unnecessary. Now, you know, I look at the term of being Mr. Irrelevant, it's a badge of honor. If you're considered Mr. Irrelevant, and then you go on to have the success that I've had, wow, look where you came from.
Mr. Irrelevant, it's a gift that keeps on giving. I've always got this little recognition here or there, or somebody stops you. Funny story, I was pulled over once speeding a little bit. Not that I make a habit of it, but I was speeding. And once I gave my ID to the officer, he said, "Hey, weren't you Mr. Irrelevant?" And I said, "Yes, I was." We talked a little bit, no ticket. So that's a benefit of being Mr. Irrelevant.